Hello and welcome to Wild Earthways. I'm Kat, and today's video is a VR to Simon at the Hermit's Cave, who created a really nice tag called The Deck That, and I've been really enjoying watching the videos for this tag answering Simon's prompts, which were created in a way that I think really helps to think and bring new perspectives to our decks. So I decided to join in and make a video as well, answering the 12 prompts. So the first prompt is the deck that reflects who I used to be. And this was a little tricky for me because I do feel connected to all of my decks. I wouldn't say that there's one that stands out as being a deck that I've, say, outgrown. I had a couple of decks which I thought about using for this prompt, and I just decided to choose the one that I haven't shown so much recently. And that deck is the Field Tarot by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana, which it's a beautiful tarot deck. I really enjoy it. I love the imagery, the artwork in this deck. So I'll flip through it a little bit while I explain why I chose it as the deck that reflects who I used to be. The imagery and artwork in this deck is so beautiful. I really enjoy the designs and the way in which images are incorporated, like the tattoos, and also images on the patterns. Here you can see the chair pattern. Often fabrics have these beautiful patterns as well in the deck. I think it's stunning. Another thing I like about this deck is the horizon lines in many of the cards that kind of invite you into the scene. And I find this deck to be a very meditative deck. It's very calm and very thoughtful. There's a lot of imagery that connects to meditation, like these chakra circles in the collars of the chakras. And I used this deck for a video back in 2023 in which I explained how I used the deck in a meditative practice. So that was a practice of a meditation called Rain, which is a way of working with difficult emotions, where you recognize, allow, investigate the emotion, and then non-identify with the emotion and give yourself nurturing. I'll give a link to that video in the description below. So having said how much I like the artwork of this deck and the themes, the imagery, why does it reflect someone who I used to be? That is because in the past couple of years, I have not been meditating as much as I used to in the past. So for many years, meditation was a very important practice for me. I was meditating daily and also practicing yoga. And for a couple of reasons, I have not been meditating like that in the past 2 years. One is practicality, just the busyness of life, and one was actually needing some mental space from those practices, which kind of sounds ironic because obviously meditation is supposed to be a supportive practice, but I needed some space from those practices. However, I am definitely aware that meditation was a practice that helped me, and I would like to get back to it. So I'm hoping to be able to pick up this deck again and start exploring its messages and perhaps meditating again in the near future. So it's a deck that reflects who I used to be, but I hope also to be able to return as well to some aspects of that past self or past practice. Another thing about this deck is that the artist mentions her art was influenced by her journey into young motherhood. She mentions this in the guidebook. And I think that's really interesting as well, because I think I was using the deck at the time of being a young mother. There aren't actually many images connected with that directly in the deck. An exception is the beautiful Queen of Discs with the keyword nurture. An absolutely stunning Queen of Discs, Queen of Pentacles. And in a way, I do think that kind of energy does move through this deck, this sort of young, creative energy, very like at home in the universe through physical creativity. And again, so in a way, perhaps that's also reflecting something from my past as well, because those years are behind me. The images are young, and it does have a kind of young feel to it. But like an image like this could perhaps be an older person as well, reflected in the figure of the magician. And of course, there are lots of images without people, with animals as well. Although overall, I would say that it is a young-leaning deck. So that is the beautiful Field Tarot by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana, a deck that reflects who I used to be. Prompt number 2 is the deck that surprised you. And for this, I've chosen the Kitsune Oracle by Lucy Cavendish and Meredith Dillman. Actually, I think in English it may be called the Foxfire Oracle. This is the French edition. And I kind of feel that I've spoken about this deck in this kind of context as a deck that surprised me before. So I'm going to try and keep this a little brief, but it's really the deck that comes to mind when I think of one that has surprised me. And that's really because I bought this deck for sentimental reasons. I was revisiting a place where I used to live, and I bought it because it has a kind of sentimental connection with that place. So that was Paris. I lived in Paris for 4 years. And then 10 years after leaving the city, I visited for the first time, and that's when I bought this deck. These are the beautiful backs with these foxes in this deep red and sort of revealing the stars of the universe behind them. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And this is the artwork of the deck. This is what it looks like. The artwork, I'm not quite sure what is the right way to describe it. Like if it's manga in style or just a little bit cartoony. It's not my usual style of artwork in decks. And also not even my kind of typical oracle deck necessarily. But actually, so the surprise is how well this deck reads. So I did buy it for sentimental reasons, because I have a personal association between Paris and Kitsune, which I have spoken about in a previous video. And I wasn't particularly expecting it to be an important reader for me, this deck. Just one that would be fun and a kind of happy deck. And what I actually do with this deck, it has a specific purpose, which I gave it like straight away, which is that when I'm reading a book, a new book, not for every book, but for many of the books which I read, I pick a card from this deck as a bookmark. And what has really interested me about this is that often I find that the card and the book do speak to each other in really fascinating ways, and that the card can pull out themes from the novel, which I recognize as I'm reading it. Here's an example. This card, Noblesse, with this beautiful iris imagery. I think it's stunning. This card, Nobility, I pulled for reading Dr. Zhivago, which I just read last month or earlier this month. And I think that this card actually does really speak to that novel, the characters' inner nobility, even in the midst of the terrible turmoil of their lives in the first half of the 20th century in Russia, and particularly the main characters, Dr. Zhivago and Lara. I do see them reflected in this image of this woman who holds her grace, her gentleness as part of who she is. And also just as important as the enjoyable dialogue that I get between the cards and the books which I'm reading. Isn't that gorgeous, this image of the women coming down to the river to offer these lights with the lotuses and the white foxes? Absolutely gorgeous. I think this deck is lovely. The other thing I was going to say is how well the guidebook is written. The messages with the cards are really interesting and supportive and written in a way that you can really connect with the guidance being given by Lucy Cavendish. This is the only deck I have by Lucy Cavendish, and and the guidebook is so well written, it kind of makes me want to seek out others, but at the same time I do like this one deck so much that I kind of like it being special in my collection. So that's the Oracle of the Kitsune by Lucy Cavendish and Meredith Tillman, a deck that surprised me. Prompt number 3 is a deck that intimidates me, and for this I have chosen the Illuminated Tarot by Carol Hertzer. So here are the backs and here are the images. So the Illuminated Tarot is a kind of handcrafted deck. It's getting a bit of glare. I hope you can see the images okay. I'll try and show them so you can see without too much glare. They are painted by Carol Hertzer, version of the Waite-Smith tarot, and the colors are stunning. I really love the way she portrays light in these images. It's the colors are very beautiful, and the thing that really drew me to this deck was how, even in difficult cards like the Three of Swords here, this bright light permeates through everything, and it feels very, very spiritual to me. It really feels like kind of energy moving through all aspects of life, and this is what drew me to the deck, which is a independent deck. Carol Hertzer sells them from her website, but you have to kind of contact her about the individual deck that you want, because she even she laminates them and cuts them to size. So it's very much a unique deck that you receive from her, and I think it reads very well. The deck reads well. So why does it intimidate me? I just feel that this deck has such a strong energy. Anyway, I think that the Waite-Smith images in general do have a very strong energy, partially because they're so familiar, they're so iconic, they've been used by so many people that they've kind of accumulated this weight, this kind of full conversation. I feel like that Carol Hertz's art really expresses that. It's so beautiful. Like, look at this Four of Swords, the way the light moves in the card. It's stunning. So I have been kind of sparing in how I use this deck. I don't remember that I have ever used it as my deck of the month, drawing a card every day or something like that. I tend to use it more rarely, more sparingly, for when I'm kind of ready for a deeper reading. And that's the aspect of it intimidating me. Like, I don't think it's clearly not a dark deck, quite the opposite. Like, look at the Seven of Swords with the stars in the sky. The way the Fool is moving into this aurora, it's just gorgeous. So essentially it's a deck which I kind of felt like I have to use sparingly. I'd actually like to use it more, and perhaps break through this kind of reticence that I have about it. So we'll see. Like many people here on TarotTube, it's always an issue that there are a lot of decks on my shelf calling for my attention. So I would like to spend more time with this one. I keep the deck in this pouch. This is a cotton pouch which I got off Etsy, like my other pouches. I think this one was from the creator, The Happiest Medium. Carol Hertzer does provide the decks in beautiful silk bags. I personally don't use silk, so that is why I have moved this deck into this bag. Prompt number 4 is a deck that is pure comfort, and for this I've chosen the Goddess Love Oracle by Wendy Andrew, and I also have here the Goddess Dream Oracle, which I think was the first one of these two that was published and is also pure comfort in a deck. I think this Goddess Love one is a little bit softer, and so that's why I'm going to go with this one for the deck that's pure comfort. So I did initially actually put these two decks together and tried using them as one big Oracle deck, and then I decided I thought that their energy was a little bit different, so I put them separately. So let's take a look at the cards. Let's take a look at them together. This is the Goddess Dream and this is the Goddess Love. You can see that the Goddess Dream, it's got a more of a kind of spring style backing, and Goddess Love is more of a kind of winter toned backing. Now I'm being a little repetitive, but the artwork is beautiful. Look at these stunning images. I love this image, Shelter, You Are Cherished. You can see immediately why this deck is pure comfort, right? The cards, messages are very supportive. They always have like a keyword and then some kind of affirmation or action, like hold your head high, expand your horizons. Enlightenment and patience here, through the darkness to the light. Isn't that image beautiful, of this woman kind of opening a passageway through the earth? And similarly here with enlightenment, let Goddess light fill you, this kind of fire meditation, and how the veil over the woman kind of also creates the landscape. It's an image that kind of brings to mind Bridget and Emilk, I think. And take a look at these ones. Trust, all is as it should be. Wildness and freedom, let go and be. There are lots of these images of women holding wild animals, like often animals which are sleeping and sort of seeking comfort. And so clearly this deck is pure comfort. And it's a deck which I have read sometimes like last thing at night before going to sleep, which is actually pretty rare for me. With most of my decks, I tend not to read them last thing at night because I don't want something which is going to kind of stir up thoughts. On the other hand, this deck works beautifully for that time of day where you're kind of settling and receptive to messages but wanting calmness, like in this card as well. And the guidebooks are also lovely. The guidebooks talk about the images, and they give kind of simple affirmations or guidance for meditation. So for sure, pure comfort from the Goddess Love and the Goddess Dream. Prompt number 5 is the deck that gives the best readings, and I'm really sorry about this, but I'm picking the Shadowscapes Tarot. I feel like if you watch my videos, you can do like a drinking game. When I come to mention the Shadowscapes Tarot, there you go. That's the inevitable mention in every video. So I'm not going to go into it in depth, but I just, I had to answer the question honestly. For me, what's the deck that gives the best reading? It's the Shadowscapes, and that's the deck that I use most and has been the closest deck to me in recent years. I don't think I need to go through the cards this time because I've shown this deck so many times on my channel. This is just one of my 4 copies of the deck. So a shout out to the Shadowscapes Tarot by Stephanie Puy-Munlaw, a deck that gives fantastic readings. Now the next prompt is a deck that is too pretty to use, but I still love it. And for this, I've actually pulled out 2. I'm going to mostly talk about this one, the Unwinding cards by Jackie Morris, and briefly this one also, the Wild cards by Jackie Morris also. These are actually not tarot decks or oracle decks, they're collections of postcards, and they are incredibly pretty. So I'll show you briefly the Wild cards, which I have shown on my channel before. So this is a collection of postcards. It comes in this lovely box. And Jackie Morris's art is stunning. I have quite a few of her books. I shared them with my children when they were a little younger, and I still love them. And something I did actually do with these cards is I did actually go through the 100 cards and choose cards which represented different tarot cards. So I think, I'm not sure if they're in order. Okay, so this is my choice for the Fool, and I did in fact kind of like start the process of writing about each card on the reverse side. So this is the Skylark, and I have written meet life in trust and co-create. I make my song upon the wind. I trust my wings and life's breath. I don't remember doing this, to be honest. I must have done it at least 2 or 3 years ago. And the next one is the Swallow, which I chose as the Magician. And I wrote, I listen to the world, I choose my path and create it. I'm trying to think when I did this. Maybe in 2023, possibly. And now I have the High Priestess. This is bar now, and I stopped. And this is the Emperor, I guess. No, the Empress, sorry, this is the Empress, this gorgeous snow hair. Here's our Emperor. So you can see I went through card by card. Oh, that's the Hierophant. This little wren on an acorn. That's cute. I kind of like that choice. I'd forgotten about it, like I said. Oh, these are the lovers. These adders. So I'll stop there. You get the idea. I went through and chose cards to represent the different tarot cards. Oh, here's the swallow, the chariot. These migrating swifts. So it's pretty, and I kind of use it. I did go through and choose which cards represent which cards in tarot deck, but I haven't actually read with it as far as I can remember. And I obviously had intended to do this for every card, and I only got as far as the Magician. Still, that's not too bad. With these ones, the unwinding cards, I haven't even done that. These are another set of 100 postcards by Jackie Morris with her absolutely gorgeous artwork on them. And these cards, a few of them I have used to send to other people, like as birthday cards or greetings cards. But most of them I do still have. You can see the box opens up with this message. This box contains the quiet dreams of white bears, love songs of foxes, journeys of the skyfish, and other creatures. And then we have these stunning images, which are very, very kind of like fairy tale in mood. You can see lots of scenes are very snowy. There are quite a few scenes like this of people sleeping, curled up with polar bears or other wild animals. Lots of gorgeous foxes. Jackie Morris does foxes so well, I think. Look at this gorgeous fox looking at the snow. So, so beautiful. And here's a fox and a snow queen. I don't know who she is. A fox carrying a wreath. Another pair sleeping. So you can see the artwork is gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And I haven't really used these cards at all. There are lots of ways they could be used, and she does actually give a few suggestions of what you could write on the cards, like a story, thoughts or feelings, a list of what you can hear, a list of small and beautiful things, a wish, a dream, a prayer, a spell or a charm. Add a stamp, send to a friend or a stranger far away or close. So yes, I would really like to use this deck. And I don't know that I'm necessarily held back by how beautiful it is, but you know what it's like, you sometimes have this feeling like I've got to use it in the right way, and then you end up not using a thing. I don't know actually if that's just me, but sometimes with like very beautiful notebooks, it can be difficult to actually use the thing. And so I've kind of held off with this deck until I've got the right way I can use them. The other thing that holds me off a little bit with it is the amount of snow in the images. So I live in a very hot place, and the snow can kind of feel a little bit distant to me. I wish I would see snow sometimes, but it's completely not part of this climate. If you'd like to see more of these images, or if you'd like a kind of walkthrough of my Jackie Morris collection, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to share more in a video if people are interested in that. It's not tarot, it's not oracle, so I don't know how much it connects with people watching these videos. I personally really enjoy her artwork. So that's the unwinding cards, a deck that's too pretty to use, but I'd love to. I do still intend to. That's a kind of another theme coming through in this video. Prompt number 7 is the deck that made me fall in love with tarot again. And for this, I have chosen the Heartwood Tarot by Three Trees Tarot, so by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ahlers. I did talk about this deck fairly recently, so I'll keep it brief. Here are the gorgeous backs. And here's our deck. So sweet. Just gorgeous artwork in this deck. Now, why have I chosen it for the deck that made me fall in love with tarot again? I didn't exactly fall out of love with tarot. but I did pretty much stop buying new tarot. So in 2024, the only deck I added to my collection was this one, the Shadowscapes Tarot, which I already had. This was actually just a different format of the deck that I decided to buy, so it was just another copy of the deck, which I'm very familiar with. I didn't want to add any new decks. I was feeling very cautious around new things. And then early in 2025, so early in this year, I bought this deck. After a lot of consideration, I kind of took the risk, what felt like me to be a risk, of trying out a new deck. And I have really, really enjoyed it. So I spoke about it in another video, how much I enjoy the storytelling elements of this deck, the very curious setting in this kind of half-inhabited, half-abandoned cottage, and getting the mouse's perspective on all of these different scenes that come up in this deck. I think it's fascinating, and it reads like a dream. It reads beautifully. So this deck has really kind of made me feel kind of inspired to start using more variety of decks again, and not just always playing it safe with the Shadowscapes, but sort of branching out a little bit as well. So I think it's a fair choice for the deck that made me fall in love with tarot again. The next prompt is the deck that I wish more people talked about, and for this I've chosen the Tree Keeper's Oracle by Stephanie Law, the same artist as the Shadowscapes, and it's written by Angie Sullins. This came out in 2023. It's a US Games deck, and it's stunning. Here are the backs, which are quite curious, I think. It shows this tree full of cogs, and then the images are like this. Each card shows a keeper. So we have the Keeper of Transformation, Keeper of Comfort, Keeper of Sharing, and so on. The images are beautiful. I'll bring them, maybe, I'm not sure how to show them well to you, because like all of Stephanie Law's art, the detail is very fine, and it just transports you into a magical kingdom. It's got a little bit more variety, I would say, than the Shadowscapes in terms of like the world building in this deck. There's a lot going on in many of the images, and they're really fascinating. So I have used this deck a little bit as usually a card to accompany a tarot reading, and I love the kind of fairy tale element to it, the beauty of the artwork, and the readings in the guidebook are also very interesting, and you know, they give you a lot to think about as well. So it's a useful deck that you can also use for journal prompts. I did see it a little bit on YouTube when it was first released, but I think the thing is that these days there are just a lot of decks out there. People have a lot of decks, so I haven't seen it as much as perhaps I would prefer, in the sense that I really enjoy the artist's work and just want to see it more widely appreciated, though I realise that lots of people probably have seen and enjoyed this deck as well. And I myself would like to get more use out of it. I will continue using it in accompaniment with different tarot and for creative writing prompts as well. I think it works really well for that. So that's the Tree Keeper's Oracle by Angie Sullins and Stephanie Law. So the next prompt is the deck that feels like a secret between us, and you could interpret this in different ways. I have chosen two decks which I don't think I've shown on my channel before, which are actually playing card decks. So both of them are independently published playing card decks. Both I bought on Etsy. There's the Happily Ever After deck and the Medieval Animals playing cards. So these are the Happily Ever After deck cards, the card backs, and the images. I'll just pull out the jokers for now. All of the images show different fairy tales, so you can see different fairy tales represented in each card. So here we have our the ants and the grasshoppers, It's the 7 swans, or silence. Here's a goose that laid the golden egg. I think that must be the boy who cried wolf, and so on. So each card has a story to discover, and I think in the sense that also gives it like a little bit of a secret element, like kind of what's the story being represented in the card. Is kind of like a kind of game, like we have some which are more obvious, like the 3 billy goats graph, Rapunzel, and some which might be a bit less familiar, like what's this heart and a stone heart. I'm not sure what story that refers to. Here's Aladdin, so some are more familiar than others. And why did I pick it as a secret between us? Well, one, because I hadn't shown it on my channel before, and another, I just don't think we see so much playing cards in Tarot Tube for obvious reasons, that they're not tarot decks. And also because when I use this deck for playing cards, I enjoy having that kind of secret element of thinking about the different stories. So it's probably not that great for my gameplay. I do use both of these decks to play card games with my family. We quite enjoy playing card games together, and having these like different stories on the cards just makes it more fun for me. I like seeing them and recognizing them as they pass through our hands. The artwork's really lovely, isn't it? I think that the artist did a beautiful job of this. It's a few years old. It was made in 2020. Okay, and so the next one is the Medieval Animals, which is created by Hannah Berggren, whose art I really like. I have a few of her little self-published books and comics, and also prints, because I really enjoy her very fun, whimsical art. This deck has very cute jokers. They're so funny. And you can see that the court cards in this deck are these cute medieval animals. They're very humorous. The pips are just basic hand-drawn pips. The aces are kind of pretty. Let's see if I can find some more courts. There's the Queen of Spades, the Jack of Hearts. It's just a fun playing card deck which has this kind of like extra element of humour when you're playing. I like this cat carrying out a rat in the King of Diamonds. I can't say I've ever seen this on YouTube. I could well be wrong. I haven't searched for it. I can't even really remember how I came across it. I like animals and I like medieval things, so for me it was perfect. And I think the images are really cute and really funny, and they just bring a little bit of extra humour when you're playing cards. Although, like I say, it's probably not so great if I'm getting distracted from the game. So these two are the secret between us, Medieval Animal playing cards and the Happily Ever After deck. Both can be found on Etsy, I believe. I was just putting it away and then I thought of something else actually, which kind of makes it feel like a good choice for Secret Between Us. It's something I was thinking about when I chose these decks. Do you ever, when you're playing cards, if you play cards, kind of connect them up with the tarot meanings? So if you would get, say, the King of Spades, connecting it with the King of Swords, the Ace of Swords here, or here we have our Eight of Clubs, so this would be the Eight of Wands. I don't read like cards like cartomancy in the traditional sense, but I do sometimes enjoy when I see the cards go by, kind of connecting them in my mind to the tarot personalities, like the King of Wands here, for example. All the kings are coming up. Here's the King of Diamonds. And here we have Red Riding Hood. I don't see any connection between the stories she's chosen and the tarot meanings of the cards. I could be wrong, but I don't really see any connection. Like here we have this mermaid in the Queen of Diamonds. I think if you were making a tarot connection, you would probably have the mermaid in the Queen of Cups. Or if it's supposed to be the Little Mermaid, maybe the Fool. Similarly, having Jack of Spades, so Knight of Swords as the Pied Piper of Hamlet. I don't know if I see any connection, Perhaps you do, perhaps I'm mistaken, but I don't think so. Nevertheless, and like this 10 of hearts, for example, 10 of cups and the red shoes, I certainly wouldn't connect those to the story and the 10 of cups. But I do quite like, as I'm playing cards, to kind of recognize the different tarot symbols, not specifically for this card, but just in general when playing cards. So again, it's another kind of layer of a secret between us. Prompt number 10 is the deck that defines my practice right now. And I have chosen the Viola Lux Umbra by Layla and Olive, so by Nicole Rallis. This is the deck that I've been using for the past month, so I've been reading with this deck throughout July, and it's new to my collection. I got it earlier in the summer after a long time of thinking whether or not to buy this deck, because I do already have the Ad Orbiter, and I thought, do I need another deck? They're kind of similar in artwork, and the reason I went for this one is because the Ad Orbiter is also lots of kind of space imagery and sea imagery, and this deck is entirely botanicals. So actually I recently just put it back in order because it's the end of the month and I was thinking about going through the deck as a whole. So here's the Fool with this gorgeous Lily of the Valley, the Magician, the High Priestess, and in the guidebook the artist explains a little bit the choice of the flowers. So this guidebook actually gives the flower names, and she also has very poetic descriptions of each card. I'll give this one as an example perhaps. Let's see. Here's the High Priestess, which is poppy and English rose, and the keywords are instinct, premonition, subliminal. In a state of warm repose, the poppy and the rose dream us up a purpose lingering just below the nose. We may even use restlessness to remind us of times at peace when the mind wanders and our finest inventions introduce themselves. The rose is the heart with its innate beat to the unconscious rhythms of intuition. Blossom from the stem that binds waking visions to unconscious minds. So you can see the style is very poetic, evocative without being excessively prescriptive, and I have really enjoyed working with this deck. So I enjoy the spaciousness of this deck. I enjoy the fact that there's no people in it. There's even very few animals. It's mostly just flowers and plants like this fern for the Emperor. So of course I appreciate decks with people. Most of the decks which I have shown, I think, have people in them, but at the moment I've just been really wanting a very kind of spacious, breathing kind of deck, sort of room to breathe. And for me, the flowers in this deck are really connected with that. I feel like they're kind of expressive of the gift of tarot, giving you kind of a moment for quiet and intuition, a moment to breathe in and to release. The cards are they're not like very narrative. So you may know from my other videos, I really enjoy narrative cards and storytelling cards. And this is very different. They're much more lyric, very poetic, very intuitive. I don't know about you, but if I look at a card like this strength card, if it didn't have strength written on it, I don't think I would choose strength as the meaning of the card. I wouldn't know to do that. And so when I'm reading with these cards, there are a few things going on. One is, of course, I already know what strength means, or what, let's see, I'll show maybe some minors, what the Eight of Wands means. And so I can bring this understanding to the card as I'm reading. Here, I think we can see a kind of indication of the traditional burst of energy from the Eight of Wands, but not always. And another thing is you don't see a reflection of the number in the image. So you might have thought she would draw 8 petals flying off, but no, there's 7. So she doesn't literally portray the cards and their meanings. And sometimes that's what I want. I want to be able to kind of enter and just have a kind of peaceful moment with the image, drawing in my own associations from the card and enjoying her beautiful write-ups in the book. I'll give another one. I do think I read Justice and liked it, so I'll pull that one out. So the flower is a hollyhock, and this is what she says: a mirror image of perfection, where equal parts make the whole, reflects the pendulum of tension between outer reaching poles. Hollyhock is our justice card, reminding us that equal yet opposite forces are what carry us through the circle of life. Bloom upward as we climb, through both the truth and lies, as above the weight of a bottomless fall, there's an infinite place to rise. I found that to be a really interesting and supportive way of looking at the Justice card, which in traditional imagery can be a little bit alarming. I think that the cards feel like kind of a safe space to breathe and to be contemplative and find your own way through the meanings of the cards. I'd actually quite like to make a video about this deck and perhaps the Ad Orbiter, draw them in together to talk about those two decks and what they mean to me. So why I'm choosing this one as the deck that defines my practice currently. Another thing I've really enjoyed about it is just the abundance of florals, the kind of femininity of the deck as well. Just really diving into that has been a real gift and a real sort of, like I say, breathing space. Practice, tarot practice as a kind of breathing space in the day. And so that's why I've chosen this one, the Viola Lux Umbra, for my current practice. Prompt number 11 is the deck that pulls you out of a rut. And for this, I have chosen the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards by Pippa Best. I think I've shown them a few times on my channel already, so I'll go fairly briefly here. Here are the backs, which are actually varying. There's different groups in this deck of cards, and each of the cards is a kind of meditation. So here we have Journey, may you seek adventure. Accept, may you receive what is as it comes. Soothed, may you settle gently, even as the wave breaks above. And so on. So I have chosen this as the deck that brings me out of a rut because I associate this deck with going to the sea. And going to the sea is, for me, the perfect way to get out of a rut. I love going to the sea. I love going in the water, as long as it's not too cold. I don't particularly care for cold sea bathing. I'll stay in the warm water, thanks. But I do enjoy the sounds and the sensations of being at the seaside. My family enjoys it, so it's a lovely family time. And I often, when we go to the sea, also pull a card, like when we return, as a way of just processing a little bit more the experience of visiting the sea. And for me, that's a huge kind of chance to get some mental clarity and some peace. So yes, for me, this is the perfect deck for getting out of a rut, because what can help you do that better than the sea? Okay, so the last prompt number 12, is the deck that waits patiently. And I like the fact that Simon put this in as prompt number 12, because it's been waiting patiently all this time. So this is my choice for this. And this, of course, is the Druidcraft Tarot. Now, I got this deck a couple of years ago. I'm not really sure, maybe 23 or 22. I got this deck and really haven't got around to using it as I would like to. It's really gorgeous. I think the artwork by Will Worthington is lovely, and the characters are very, very vivid, and this is a very narrative deck. It's obviously very close to the Waite Smith images, just in a kind of different world. which makes it very easy to read. So when I have picked it up and read with it, it's very straightforward, very easy to read. And that may also be a reason why I haven't kind of studied it in the way that, say, for example, the Viola Lux Umbra, I picked up and read with for a month because I wanted to try to understand the deck. And I haven't felt that I needed that kind of study to be able to read with this deck. Although that isn't to say that it doesn't deserve that kind of study. Like, I think it does, and that I would learn a lot from actually spending more time with this deck. So it's definitely staying on the shelf, waiting patiently, I'm afraid, until the time when I can kind of like really develop a understanding of the deck properly. The colours are really nice. It's a little bit greenish toned in places. Like you can see a little bit in this card, I think, the kind of greenish tone in the man's skin. Or say this card here, the Ace of Cups, which is a water card, but very, very green. So I do actually enjoy seeing the blue in the Princess of Swords, this gorgeous Queen of Swords. I love seeing her expression as she touches the sword, this kind of peace and determination and clarity that comes through in this image. It's a gorgeous deck. So it's been waiting patiently. I think we all know probably how it feels that there are decks that we'd like to use and get to. And I do have a few more decks than I can kind of fairly get around in the course of a year, since I do like to spend quite a lot of time with the decks when I'm reading them, like a month or so, to kind of go deep with the deck. Eventually, I hope to get to this deck as well. So that is the Druidcraft, who is waiting patiently. Thank you so much to Simon at the Hermit's Cave for creating this fun tag. And thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point, thank you for watching to the end of the video and joining me for this journey through the decks. I hope that you enjoyed the selection. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you have any of these decks that you enjoy working with? Are there any of them in the video that you would like to hear more about that I can share more about in the future video? Please do let me know. I'd be happy to do so. So thank you again for watching. I wish you well wherever you are, and I hope to see you again soon.